Next is a policy session, Clackamas County Community Wildfire Protection Plan 2024 update. Daniel Nybauer, Director of Disaster Management, and Jay Wilson, also from Disaster Management. I'm sorry, Jay, I forgot your title. If you'd share that, please, when you sit down. Please go ahead, Daniel and Jay.
Good morning, Vice Chair West, Commissioners, Administrator Schmidt, Daniel Nybauer, Director of Disaster Management. With me, I have Jay Wilson, Resilience Coordinator. We are here today to present and discuss the Community Wildfire Protection Plan 2024 update and seek board direction to move the plan and its associated memorandum of agreement to the consent agenda process. And Jay, please.
Good morning, excuse me, Vice Chair West, Commissioner Savas, Schrader, and Schull, and Administrator Schmidt. Yes, I'm Jay Wilson, the Resilience Coordinator with County Disaster Management. There's a quick summary of what the purpose is for the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. They were passed by Congress in 2003 for the Healthy Forest Restoration Act, and this is what codified these types of plans. And within 2 years, Clackamas County had its first one in 2005. And we've updated them in 2012 and 2018. And so this would be our fourth version of that plan. We put in a planning grant request in October of 2020, immediately following the Labor Day wildfires, with the intention of creating the best plan we possibly could and to improve on everything that we have done up to that point. I want to emphasize over the past 20 years, the grant awards that we've been able to complete due to having an active plan includes thousands of risk assessments and structural assessments for homes in Clackamas County. Likewise, we've had millions of dollars for fuel reduction projects on public and private lands. And we've been partnering heavily in the last couple of years with Clackamas Fire District 1 in terms of their receiving a state fire marshal grant to have a full-time facilitator for the Mount Hood Corridor Wildfire Partnership, and then recently getting a capacity building grant for creating the Clackamas Wildfire Collaborative. One of the big issues here as we're getting to this 2024 update are a number of changes that came about due to the legislature in 2022 and 23 with Senate Bill 762 and Senate Bill 80. You may be aware of or remember when the State Department of Forestry issued wildfire maps across the state, and then they were retracted. This was one of the complications that caused us to have to postpone this plan delivery because we were waiting on all of those state agency requirements that were coming down the line. Those laws required coordination between the Department of Forestry, the State Fire Marshal, the Building Codes Division, the Department of Land Conservation and Development. And so all of those types of considerations have been written into this current 2024 plan. And then lastly, just highlighting some of the best work we've done in wildfire areas. The U.S. Forest Service sponsored a community mitigation assessment team in 2022 to assess the Hoodland area and make recommendations for an agency and community-led group. This partnership is a model both in the county and considered for the state in terms of how we do business with strong support, especially from our community planning organizations and our homeowners associations. And in fact, we have several emergency planning committee members who've been very actively engaged in that partnership and advocating for improving the telecommunication service reliability during public safety power shutoffs. And then lastly, we're taking what we've learned in Mount Hood and translating it countywide to the Clackamas Wildfire Collaborative. This is a group that's organized under the county's Fire Defense Board, and we're using Title III funds to primarily fund the administration for this in the coming years, I think the next 2 years. And so, yes, we ask for your consent to move this forward and for the memorandum of agreement to be adopted.
Thank you for that presentation. Anybody have any thoughts? Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. I couldn't help but notice early on page 3, it mentions the Clackamas Soil and Water Conservation Service. It's a district.
district.
So, okay, I just didn't know if they were providing a service. So it is supposed to be a district. Okay.
It's supposed to be a district. Thank you for
All right.
catching that.
So how, on that note, because, the following of a forest fire, soil, water erosion, all those things, those are big deals. Those are big deals of water quality and everything else. So I just want to know if there's adequate resources actually to do all the mitigation necessary. Does that fall on the Soil and Water Conservation District, or does that fall on who, if not them? If they're out-resourced?
They're an active partner with us in the wildfire collaborative that we're putting together. They've been attending our coordination meetings. But we've also been working with watershed councils as well, understanding that these fires do happen in watersheds. And so there's a broad array of partners, state, local, federal partners like the National Conservation Resource Service, as well as the Department of Agriculture. All of them would have roles to play in that post-wildfire environment that would translate into erosion and flood hazards as well.
Right. Are let's just say I just use the Clackamas River. We never know where a wildfire is going to be, but just to say the Clackamas River, it's downstream of a lot of the fires we experienced in 2020, for example. Some of our water purveyors like Clackamas River Water, South Fork Water, Sunrise and Oak Grove or Oak Lodge and Gladstone and others, partners in the North Clackamas Water Group, the other agency. My question is, are they involved, again, financially in helping mitigate that? Because again, it's their resource, right? Soil and water conservation and some of the watershed councils are not well-funded. So I'm getting back to the resource issue, the monetary resource to do the mitigation. How involved are the water districts? Not at all?
We in the last coordination meeting we had for the Wildfire Collaborative, we had a very strong engagement from the Clackamas River water providers. Kim Swan from that group was there and asking a lot of fairly challenging questions around the nature of their level of engagement and a role to play, since we're creating this a bit differently than we have for the Wildfire Partnership. I mean, they're speaking from very strong concern about their ratepayers and the service to their districts in relation to water quality and the future of the upper watersheds. I would say I don't know exactly how much money they would have on the table in order of being directly engaged, as much as I think they're interested in how they would be providing support and direction for the type of work that we're doing with mostly the fire services for fuels reduction. But they were there, the Bull Run, Portland Water Bureau was there, and we had another Clackamas River collaborative. I had some folks I hadn't met before, but they oversee all the watershed councils in the county that were there. But I agree with you, the funding that most of those nonprofits get are very smaller project scale than something like the Riverside Fire and really the long-term landscape scale work that's ongoing up there.
Yeah. Well, we're close to being 4 years out since that fire, and I don't know what the status is of turbidity issues in the Clackamas River, for example, or the Bull Run and whatnot. But I am just curious to know if any of those emergency funds in the declaration of emergency go that far out into mitigating in years in the future until that is all either forested or greened up or whatnot, to where that's no longer an issue. I just don't know the status. I'd like to get an understanding of that. Maybe that's not in your realm, but I was curious. I won't belabor it any longer. Thank you.
Sure. Well, much of that land is U.S. forest land too, and it's kind of outside our ability to dictate what happens that way.
Thank you. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. I noticed that this 22-23 update of the Community Wildfire Protection Plan is based off the 2005 plan, which I know required a lot of work to put together. That's good that you're building off of good things from the past. This plan, does it come with concurrence from, you never get 100%, but from, CPOs, fire districts? Do you have a lot of consensus behind it?
We had a steering committee from the County Fire Defense Board that oversaw the update of this, with 6 chiefs from the zones around the county, as well as the U.S. Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, and the Department of Forestry. For the adoption, the State Forester's Office had to review and approve of the plan, and then the Fire Defense Board chief did as well.
Okay, good, thank you. And once this gets approved, what's your plan for public education and outreach so that everybody is aware of this plan?
We haven't, well, the primary reason for the 2 groups I mentioned earlier, the Mountain Hood Wildfire, the Corridor Wildfire Partnership, and then the Wildfire Collaborative, are to directly engage the communities.
Okay.
Primarily at the CPO and homeowners association level.
Excellent, thank you.
Terrific. Commissioner Schrader, you are up.
Yeah, I just had some questions, because one of the things when I toured those areas after the fires, out in the Molalla area, Estacada area, how much work are we doing with educating people about what they call defensible space? Because that seems to be part of the issue, is that they need to really have buffers that prevent the fire as much as possible, obviously, from actually reaching, the structures that are there. And the other thing I remember vividly is there was a disconnect between what our urban firefighters do and what folks who are actually trained to fight a wildfire. And part of that was some of our firefighters were pulled back, and people were saying, well, our buildings were burning down, but this was wildfire related and really not under the purview of folks in urban areas who do more localized fires. Could you speak to that a little bit? I mean, that was an interesting. That was a very interesting fact that I learned, as they pulled back.
Certainly. Well, the first point that you had made about defensible space, that's one of the things that's called for in Senate Bill 762,
Right.
is for that to be more codified through the State Fire Marshal's Office and local building codes, for at least for new development in wildfire urban interface areas. The Mountain Hood Partnership that we've had in place now for over a year and a half is where we've been basically building our capacity for community education and outreach around this type of information, especially following the Camp Creek fire last year. We held a film festival at the Timberline Lodge last year as a full-day event for instructing people on lessons learned across the West on building safely and living in fire-prone areas. We just had a very successful homeowners wildfire workshop at Welch's Middle School in May. We had over 100 residents attend that as an all-day session on a Sunday. The intent is that the skill and the capacity that we've been building with the community planning organizations along the Highway 26 corridor is really the basis for how we want to roll this out across the rest of the county, especially in places like Estacada, Molalla, Colton on the Highway 211 corridor, which is the front line basically there. I can't speak to the level of degree of how the fire response worked in terms of the issues that happened. I guess that you're referring to Estacada during the 2020 wildfire. I remember when we had the Emergency Operations Center open in the ground floor of the DSB, and Chief Carlton came in that night and was saying that they were having to pull back because they didn't have the resources, and the fire, the expectation was it was advancing too much until the incident management team was able to come in.
Yeah.
I can speak slightly to that. The plans like the Wildfire Protection Plan makes the county and our partners more eligible for grants, and things like Clackamas Fire District 1 has been able to do is get grants to get what they call Crew 30, which is a wildfire crew that they
Okay.
bring on over the summer, as well as getting some apparatus for a lot of the fire districts that allow them to increase their wildland firefighting capability. So plans like this help. The fire districts have realized this, and plans like this make them more eligible for grants to increase their capability to do
Yeah, 'cause
wildfire
there
fighting.
really are two methodologies. And the other thing I observed was that people wouldn't leave. And what I recall is kind of a huge mushroom heat dome where we had to ask people to vacate. We pulled our firefighters back because the fear was that the weight of this would fall and it would be like a major conflagration. So how do we convince people and educate them that when we say leave, they need to leave? We had issues with people there taking over with their own equipment and things, trying to fight this, which was extremely dangerous to their health thank goodness no one died from that. But that was the other issue I recalled as we were going through this, that people were refusing to leave.
We've certainly been putting work toward getting an understanding of the evacuation levels out to the community and what they mean. And as we work closely with the sheriff's office on that, and
Yeah.
as my sheriff's office partner said, we're never going to force anybody to
No.
leave their home. We can just do our best to inform them of what's going on. And I know the fire districts have been working closely with some of those same partners that came out using their own equipment to do that, to find those that do have a background and education in wildfire fighting and bring them on board. And we have a partnership in increasing communications, so we don't have that lack of communications that we saw in 2020, that they can make sure that they are communicating the risks as well as using them in the best possible way to prevent that fire from spreading anymore.
Thank you, Director Nybauer and Mr. Wilson. Really appreciate the presentation. We have a recommendation to move forward potentially with this Community Wildfire Protection Plan and its association with the Memorandum of Agreement. Does anybody in this board want to entertain a motion?
I move to approve the plan.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the table to move to approve the Community Wildfire Protection Plan and its association with the Memorandum of Agreement to the consent agenda process. And Martha Schrader, Commissioner Schrader, has seconded that motion. Do we have any further comments or discussion?
I just want to say thank you for all the work on this.
I also noticed that on the memorandum, are we going to be adding my signature there under the other Mr. West on the memorandum? Are you making that adjustment to the memorandum?
Depending on when it gets to the business meeting agenda, if
Okay.
Chair Smith is back, she'll sign it. If not, you'll sign it.
Perfect, okay. I'm amicable to that. Any other comments or concerns or questions about process or what we're doing moving forward? Seeing none, Tony, can we please take the poll on this?
Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Vice Chair West.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you so much today, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And that's all for today, Chair.
Awesome, then we are adjourned.